thank you for that introduction, and I'm glad you didn't go into all the stuff that people put down in a bio to make you sound like you're acclaimed, because I was going to say void all of that, and I wanted to share just a simple story with you. And because some of you already know me and know part of my story, or our story, my husband and I's story, I wanted to share just something that I've experienced in the last 10 years. Has anybody in this room ever been at a point in their life or a place in their life where you thought, I should be happy right now, but I feel as though there's something more? Can anybody relate to that? Has anybody ever had a tug at your heart, or a passion, or a calling, or something that you felt as though you should be doing? Okay. Several years ago, my husband and I had just spoken in Caesar's Palace, and we went and we sold books. We had just published all these books, and we spoke in front of an audience. The room was packed out. It was going into overflow, and afterwards, we took the 10 people that helped us sell $12,000 worth of products in an hour after that seminar, which we were paid and sponsored by Canon USA, and did all of this stuff. And we got the VIP room at Caesar's Palace and treated 10 people to dinner. And I looked at this gentleman that was sitting to my right, who we kind of connected in a different way, because he had a husband and wife, or he had a wife and they were a husband and wife photography team, and we were a husband and wife photography team, and our minds just thought alike, and his wife was creative like my husband was creative. And I looked at him and I said, you know what, I feel like I should be happy. Like I should be at my game. I should be so proud of what we accomplished and what we're doing. And like we had maintained, my brother went to an event once and he said, they're like celebrities here. Like people just walk around the industry and they were like, oh, Kathleen, I need to talk to you. Jeff, I need to talk to you. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? I feel the exact same way. And it was like, why? Why does God place that passion in your heart and make you want more? Is it greed? Or is there something more to it? Is there someone you're supposed to be? So that happened about 10 years ago. And it's funny because the gentleman I was talking to, he and his wife ended up opening up a photography studio in New York City. They bit the bullet, went to Manhattan. They then did Donald Trump's wedding, Star Jones' wedding. So he's accomplished amazing things. He found that passion and he started going after it. But that wasn't what God was placing in my heart. You know, my husband and I then went through a period of time, because I was raised to believe that a woman's job was to have children and raise a family. Some of you have heard that story before, and it was just something that I felt like I could do. So it didn't matter how many degrees I got. It didn't matter how many awards I got, how many books I published. It was still, I wasn't doing the one thing that my father drilled in my head that I was supposed to do, because I was unable to conceive. So my husband and I got to a point where we started looking into adoption, looking into fertility treatment, all of those different things. And what was amazing is, one night, prior to all of this happening, I was sound asleep in the middle of the night. I woke up, sat straight up, and I said, God just spoke to me. It was the most profound feeling, and some of you may be looking at me like I'm crazy. If you're lucky enough, maybe he'll speak to you one day. Because I sat straight up, and the words that came to my head was, you will minister to women one day. It was like 3:30 in the morning, and I got up and I went to my computer and I sent my pastor an email, and I said, the Lord just spoke to me. He told me I need to minister to women. You need to tell me what school I need to go to. You need to tell me how I'm going to become a pastor, and are women allowed to be pastors, and what am I going to do? And I wrote him this long email, and he said, let's get together on Monday. Well, Monday came, and you know how when God speaks to you, just kind of ignore him? Like, yeah, right. Why did we listen when somebody like that talks to you? Monday came, life got busy. I thought, I'll do that next week. I'm not qualified right now. I'll do that later. Then I started throwing myself into, some of you may remember, when New Orleans was hit and all of that tragedy. So I thought, okay, my church is asking, like Sunday, my church was asking for my help, and they needed someone to help. And I thought, I'm a leader. I can step up and I can help manage their rescue task here in Orlando. So I threw myself into volunteering. Had nothing to do with ministering to women. I'm setting up apartments all over Orlando, helping people that needed homes. But that's how I kept myself busy. And what was amazing is I got very involved in that. And while I was doing this disaster repair and replacement and helping all of these people and volunteering with my church, then we met our precious little Michelle. And this is probably about November by now, December by now. So it was shortly after the tragedy in New Orleans, and we met our daughter Michelle, who was in foster care at the time, still ignoring God waking me up at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, you will minister to women, not doing anything to do with that, but now I'm going to save children. Now that I've helped the homeless, I'm going to go save children. You know, if you think about that, it's like, why? We get a passion in our heart. He's saying, I'm talking to you. And we get so busy with everything that's easy that we don't do what's intended to do. We don't do what's hard. Wow. So we started working with children. We adopted 3 children out of foster care. It came to a point where my husband realized that I was not going to stop saying yes. So he said, let's just help them find parents and not try and become all of their parents. And we did receive an award recently for helping over 300 children in the state of Florida find forever families they can call their own. So that is an amazing accomplishment and a gift. So thank you. But I still wasn't doing what God told me to do. But this is how funny it is. And when I'm talking to you today, like I really came here today and I was nervous because I didn't know who was going to be in the room. I didn't know what you had talked about really for the last 4 weeks. And I really just prayed and said, you know what, God, fill my mouth with whatever these people need to hear. Like, let me say whatever you want me to say and share whatever they need to find their passion and to not get stuck. Well, now I'm feeling overwhelmed. I did all the marketing and all the business side of our business. My husband's the creative one. So now I'm feeling overwhelmed because the first daughter was easy. When she came to us, she was 4 years old. Okay, she made her bed. She was in a group foster home. Okay, she made her bed. She put her shoes away. She ate whatever you told her. And anytime you gave her something, she'd go, for me? Really? Why? She was raised very rigid, very strict. So we had her for about 7 months, and then they called us with a 7-month-old. And I was like, oh, yay, a baby. I finally get a baby. And my husband said yes, still haven't figured out why. Thank God for that every day. And so then we bring in Rachel. And my point of sharing this to you was she was raised in a medical foster home for 7 months, okay? No pacifier, went to bed when you told her to go to bed. She ate what you told her to eat because a nurse put her on a system, and it was a regimen. Wow, I thought parenting was a piece of cake. You know, hand me anybody you want to hand me. I can handle this. This is easy. Within a year and a half, we took on our son, who was 2 days old, wasn't raised by a group foster parent, wasn't raised by a nurse. He was 2 days old and he was born chemically dependent. So he went through withdrawals, he shook and he quivered and he couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep at night. And now this has been a year and a half, starting to go into the recession, trying to keep the photography business thriving when people don't have walls to hang portraits on. And I was feeling like this desperate, what am I going to do? How can I do this? I couldn't go to chamber meetings at night. I couldn't go to meetings during the morning because I had to be with my children. Like, I had to try and figure out how to be a mom of 3 within a year and a half. It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. So there was a group that I was a member of. It was a leads group. And they had a lot of rules. And one of my girlfriends called me one day and she said, she was crying. She was like frantic. And she said, Kathleen, I'm going to be at this meeting, but I'm running a little bit late. Please tell him not to kick me out. I have to pick up my 6th son from his elementary school and take him to my father's office to drop him off so I can come to the meeting so they don't kick me out of this group. And it was that moment when I was driving down the interstate and I thought, this isn't right. I have so much guilt on my shoulders. I'm trying to be a mom. I'm trying to take care of kids. I'm trying to be a wife, and I'm trying to run a business. I don't need the guilt put on my plate. I need people lifting me up. And it was that moment when I went to the meeting, and I looked at this lady that said something to me, and I said, let's start an organization. Let's start a group. Let's meet for lunch. It was something that simple. There was no business plan. Now, I taught how to write business plans. I taught how to do marketing plans. People sometimes say our name is stupid. You know, there was no thought in our name. It just kind of, like, I was driving down the road. The restaurant manager said, what is your name of your organization? Well, I'm the kind of person that's always going to fake it until I make it. Like, I'm not going to tell you I haven't thought about that yet. We have to be like a real group. And so Women on a Mission kind of came out of my mouth. And divinely, To Earn Commission flowed immediately after. It didn't feel like enough. I opened my mouth and they weren't my words. I promise you they weren't my words. To Earn Commission just came out. Now, when I first said this, I thought To Earn Commission is revenue. You know, it's people that want to make money. That's why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to make money and I'm trying to keep my business open and trying to help my husband keep a roof over our head. Wow. It had nothing to do with that. It was about a year and a half after WOMTech started, actually probably just about a year, and I was sitting at a point and we had so many conversations because after working with WOMTech for about 9 months and realizing that I was really no longer marketing his business at all because this was occupying and taking up so much of my time, we came to a crossroads where we had 638 members in the Central Florida area, and we looked at each other and we said, what are we going to do? Do you want me to stop this and go back to doing nothing but run your business? Or do we want to keep moving forward with this? And he supported me and he supported us. But what was amazing that happened that day is I got a flood of how much this has changed their life emails. And that, again, I believe was God. And it was when I was at a Bible study one day, I looked over at my girlfriend who I told her she's kind of like my prayer partner, my spiritual warrior. And I say, keep me grounded, keep me in check, make sure that I'm always focused no matter where this goes or what happens with this. And she looked at me one day and she says, Kathleen, you don't even realize this, do you? And I said, what are you talking about? She says, to earn commissions has nothing to do with money. It's the greater commissions that Jesus references in the Bible. And I was like, how did this happen? How did this happen? And when you go back, read that passage, become a disciple of Christ. You know, spread the word, help people, empower people, do unto others, and deliver the positive message. And when she showed me that wasn't me. That none of that was me. And it had happened in 9 months to a year. And now we have thousands of members across the nation, people that I have never even met before, helping people keep their faith first, their family second, and their career third. And, you know, people ask me all the time, Kathleen, why do you just say faith? You know, why isn't it just a Christian organization? Well, you know what? I believe if you surround yourself with people that need to be led towards Christ, I believe if they come to a meeting and they're not prepared to walk into the four walls of church, I quote scripture all the time, they have no idea. You know, it's like, but eventually my words will become their words. So the reason why I'm sharing that story with you, and I shared that story with you, is because God spoke to me once, and I wasn't ready to listen. I kept myself busy with lots of other things to do, things that I thought would make him happy. You know, helping orphans, helping the homeless, but it wasn't what I was told to do. I then kept living my life, and he kept directing me where I needed to go. And now what is amazing about that is it's so much bigger. It is so much more amazing. There are so many more people doing so much better work that I could have ever dreamt of. It's so, you know, you just have to look at that. So my point of sharing this, and we're going to get into how to find your passion, how to find your calling, how to analyze what it is that you're doing and why are you doing it, because it's not about money. It's not about money. You all know that. You know, if you give generously and if you help generously and if you love generously, you know, you will be rewarded and you will be provided for, but it's so much more than that. So it's how can we look at what's in your life, what you're facing, what you're supposed to face, why you're experiencing this obstacle, and how can you truly make a difference in the lives of others. And that is the motto and the formula of WOMTech. I have lots of other organizations. Chambers are really funny. I love chambers. Everybody needs them. Every community needs one. But they'll come in and they'll try and create WOMTech. And it's funny. They'll start their women's groups or all across the country. I have other women's organizations that'll be like, I'll start this. Well, first of all, they don't start it with God first. And that's always a mistake. Secondly, when you're really focused on not being a business card psycho and just passing out your company information, and you're focused on looking at you and saying, how can I help you? Because I know if I help you, you may not help me back. You may not do business with me back. But I know if I help you, something will come back to me if you help enough other people. You know, a lot of what I'm going to talk about has to do with leadership. But almost everything that I speak about that has to do with leadership has to do with your customers too. Because you're leading your customers down the path of where you need them to go. And it could be health and wellness. It could be in a product sales. It can be in financial management. It doesn't matter what it is. If you lead your customers by truly caring, truly connecting, truly creating that relationship, it is no different whether you're working with a customer or an employee or a significant other or a child that is in your life that you've been blessed with. So really taking a look at, you know, for us, we're the clay, and our Heavenly Father is molding us to become the person that they intended us to become. You know, I remember being very angry when I couldn't have children. And I remember when I taught at the university, one of my students said to me, "Are you pregnant?" I guess I looked fat that day. I don't know. I bursted into tears. It was such an emotion. And I was angry. I was angry that I couldn't do that. Well, now I get God's plan. Because if I would have done that, first of all, our 3 children who were destined to be in our family and they were made for our family would not be in our family. But even more, we would not have ever helped those other 300 children because we wouldn't have been made aware of the need and the calling. So if there's something in your life that is frustrating, if there's something in your life that is just angering you, just have faith and know that God's doing something with all of this right now. You know, He's doing something in your life to make it better. People under the influence of an empowering person are like paper in the hands of a great artist. It doesn't matter if you're a boss with tons of employees. It doesn't matter if you're an elder or a church leader, or if you're teaching a kindergarten class. It doesn't matter what you do. You're in an influential position to where you can either empower and lift up or squash and push down anybody that comes into your life. And what I think is so amazing is you all know that people come into your life, they're divine appointments, they're coming into your life at a certain time for a certain reason. And we all know this. So what we have to do is stop and remember, with every word, every action, everything we say and do, stop and remember that it's like a piece of paper that you can either create a masterpiece with or you can crumble up and destroy. So many times we're focused on, this is what I want and I'm coming to you, and this is what I want and I come to you. And I had someone say to me the other day, she said, Kathleen, you know, when I used to go to WOMTech meetings as a WOMTech member, I would go to the meetings and I would think everybody there needs to know who I am and what I do, and I need to make sure everybody there gets my business card. She then became a director. And what was interesting about this is it's really a turning point. When she became a director, she said, I was now a hostess. And as a hostess, I needed to make sure that everybody that visited, I knew who they were, I knew what they did, and I needed to get their business card because I wanted to make sure everybody felt at home and felt comfortable. And what's amazing is whether you're a director or not, whether you're attending a meeting or not, that is so true. If you go in focused about you, okay, you're not going to get the same results as if you go in focused on somebody else. So with every event and every meeting and everything you do, if you play the hostess of the people in the room, even if it's out of your comfort zone, even if you're nervous about that experience, if you look at them and genuinely say, how can I help you? You're going to start to create that masterpiece in them, which I think is so important. Let God use you to mold others to help them create a masterpiece in their life, and then you will be open to show them the story about Jesus. Okay, what type of leaders are you? You know, there's a lot of different things that I have found. And with entrepreneurs, one of the things that I can say, I've discovered two types of entrepreneurs. How many people in here own their own business? Okay. Own their own business? Okay. So a majority of you. How many people in here are working for another company? Okay. How long have you ladies been with another company? Okay. 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 So just to kind of get a gauge for who's in this room. Okay. There's a couple of different styles of leadership. If you're in small business or if you're an entrepreneur, one of the things that I've discovered is there's people that want to be entrepreneurs because they want to have freedom, they want to have flexibility, they want to be their own boss, they want to be in charge of making their own money. But if they start it by saying, I want freedom and flexibility, that usually means that they really don't want to work, okay? Because anybody that's in business for themselves knows it really doesn't give you freedom and flexibility. You know, when you're in charge of supporting a family of 6 and you have to pay your mortgage on the first of the month, there's no freedom and flexibility in that. You got to just get down there and get it done and keep moving forward. And it may mean that you can go to your kids' play. It may mean that you can come home and have dinner and tuck the kids in. But it also may mean that you're going to get back on your computer at 11 o'clock at night and work for another 2 hours. So that's something that you have to analyze and decide. If I want to be my own boss, if I want freedom and flexibility, if I want to have an entrepreneurial like type business, then you have to decide if you truly want to be in business and how you're going to make yourself accountable. Because that's the number one thing. Accountability means what revenue generating activities are you doing on a daily basis? And how are you making your goals come to fruition? What I have found, most people have no clue what their goals are. You know, if you work for another company, you go to work, and if your company gives you goals, if they tell you you will do this, what do you usually do? You can either be a real go-getter if the incentives are good enough and you can like just get them and soar and accomplish them, or you can start to get frustrated and you can start to get resentful because somebody else is telling you how to perform. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in small business, if you are your own consultant of some sort, okay, if you don't set those goals, it's very easy to look back and say, oh, it's June. Where did the first 6 months of the year go? You know, what's happening? Because you're going to work every day hoping the phone rings. You're going to work every day hoping to get a sale, but you don't have a strategy or a plan. You know, so many people say, it's very important to have a business plan. I admit it. I didn't start with a business plan. You know, once I decided, whoa, I think we need an occupational license, this is growing somewhere, and we actually started the business, I did sit back and do that. But what is the purpose of a business plan and a marketing strategy? It's so you can be accountable, so you know what you're focused on, and so you know where you're going, so you can go back and check. But so you have a clear vision and a clear path of accountability. There are a couple of different types of leaders, and it doesn't matter if you're leading yourself or if you're leading a team of 50. There's a cheetah thinker and a turtle thinker. Let's start with that. Okay, I may talk fast, but I think slow. I'm not a turtle thinker, or I'm not a cheetah thinker. A cheetah thinker is, let's say, has anybody been to a trade show of any sort? Okay. A cheetah thinker would run into the trade show the minute the doors were open because they were so excited about all the opportunities that they were going to be to buy cool stuff for their business, okay? They would run in, they would go up and down every aisle, they would see a sale, they would purchase something, they would get it right away, they would be super excited. A turtle thinker, on the other hand, would walk up and down, see something they liked, make note of it, go up and down the next row, see if they could get a better price someplace else, and make note of it, and probably not purchase until either the middle to the end of the trade show in case the prices went back down again. Both have their strengths, both have their weaknesses, because if you're a cheetah thinker and you're the type that just does things fast, you can make bad financial decisions for your business. You could struggle in your business a little bit. You're probably the type of person that may run out, buy that, Jeff, $5,000 camera, $20,000 camera, and then when they get back go, what do I do? Or they don't, they leave it in the box. That's worse if they don't even take it out of the box. So you just made this big investment, but you're not doing anything with it. But a turtle thinker can wait for all lights to turn green before they move forward in their plan, in their destiny, in their action. So it is important. I love the fact that you said find a mentor, because it is important that you find a mentor to help keep you accountable and to help keep you on track. So you're not waiting for all the lights to turn green. So they can look at you and say, okay, tell me what your real fear is, girlfriend. Tell me what's really going on here. Tell me, okay, I get everything you're saying, but I just got a sense that maybe your husband may be holding you back right here, or I have a sense that there may be fear, or is it really about money? Like, let's talk sincerely and find out what's holding you back so you don't get stuck. Because again, God doesn't place a passion in your heart if you're not supposed to do something with it. He really doesn't. Okay, stinking thinking or all about me. These are two types of people that I find often, especially because we have about 71 leaders right now across the nation, running chapters across the nation. And it's funny because most WOMTech women don't have stinking thinking because of the way the Orlando Sentinel said, it's not your father's chamber, and they talked about our stiletto heels and our bling and having fun, and we've kind of like merged all of what was cool about Red Hat Society for ladies into WOMTech just to make it fun, just to be girls again. So you don't have stinking thinking. But every now and then I find out it's all about me. Like, look, it's me. Look, I'm in the room. Look, I'm here. And they're all excited, and it's all about me. Well, you may get attention for a little bit. You may get recognition for a little bit. People may come and do business with you for a little bit. But eventually that it's all about me mentality is going to catch up to you. Because eventually, if you're focused on what you want and not what other people want, you're going to run out of people to empower, because people are going to eventually get that insincerity and that lack of generosity. Intimidation, procrastination, and fears. I think that this is important too. When we look at people, leaders, business owners, some people run a business because they were forced to run a business, okay? I was just laid off at my position. I'm in my 50s, who's gonna hire me? I have no other choice but to start my own company because I have nowhere else to go and the job market is horrible. Some people are forced into those situations because of intimidation or because of fears. And that's okay as long as you identify your strengths and your weaknesses and learn to surround yourself with people that can pick up on your weaknesses to help you lift you up, because not everybody has what it takes to successfully run a business and market their business. Fears, though, I want to just stop and talk about for a minute. It was very scary when we made some very big decisions for our family. My father died. We had paid for my mother's house. That was part of the deal when we moved her here from the beach, that she had to help take care of the children. We had to make the decision to give up her house and to take her out of her home, which was very, very hard. We had to make a lot of decisions in the very beginning as to what we were going to let go and what we were going to hold on to. And I think when you're looking at fears and when you're looking at, you don't want to just say, oh, I'm just going to gamble it all. I'm going to bet my life. But that's when you have to not make a decision on your own, but you have to let God help you make that decision. I can tell you that in the past 5 years, and we're about to celebrate our 5th anniversary, in the past 5 years, I have been on my knees more than once in my office saying, God, tell me what to do. And I can tell you that every time I've asked that question, I've always gotten a sign, I've always gotten an answer. And every time I thought I was on top of the world, okay, things are going right, Satan knocks you back down. He really, really does. He stops you from moving forward. And what is amazing about that is you just have to get excited about it. Like, I started doing something in my office and people laugh at me because when I feel like that, when I feel like, okay, I got it, you just got to have that put 'em up mentality. Like, I got it, God's got my back, and just kind of keep moving forward, because if you do keep moving forward, that's how he's going to make you stronger, and that's how you're going to be able to fight. It's kind of like, does anybody in here ever remember playing King of the Mountain? Did they do that down here? They did it in Ohio. Well, they had snow hills. Down here you have ant hills and sand hills. Like, King of the Mountain is the game where you run to the top of the mountain, and the big bully in the neighborhood tries to knock you back down, and you run to the top, and then you get knocked back down, and eventually people quit, and they go crying home to mommy because they're not winning, or eventually there's a king that's determined the king of the mountain. I grew up with 3 brothers. Maybe this is weird to you, but they played that game with us all the time. When I came into this hotel, did you see the sculpture in the front? Okay, I looked at that, and it reminded me of King of the Mountain. And I thought, okay, now are they all working together as a team to help build a structure to embrace the 2 people at the top? Or are they all trying to get to the top of the mountain? Think about that. What is the purpose of that? And when you are trying to get to something good, Satan will stop you. He'll try to stop you. And your strength has to be stronger, your determination has to be stronger, but your faith has to be the strongest, because that's what's going to help you move forward. Okay. Your full circle approach to all of your marketing. I'm so glad to hear that you focused on branding, and Dan is a good member of WOMTech. We're so excited about her and her new position. When you're looking at your full circle approach to marketing, I think it's important, no matter what company you work for or what business that you're with, that you realize that there are 3 main components that will truly affect your level of success. And when you can learn how to think outside of your little box, I'm this one little person that's doing this job, and you can realize how everything come together will create your full circle marketing plan. So the first thing that I want to talk about is your image. This is really funny, and I'll share an interesting story. You may even remember this from the wedding industry. My husband, years ago, prior to kids, bought a Harley. And one day he was so excited about this Harley, he went to a networking event in Sanford, and it was cold out. It was like December. So he went to this networking event to show all his cool photographer friends his brand new Harley, okay? He puts a do-rag on his head, puts chaps on his legs, puts his leather jacket, his leather gloves, and I'm like, this is a wedding event. Like, do you not realize I was petrified of bikers? Now, granted, I learned that most of them were like cosmetic surgeons or dentists, but at first I was petrified of bikers. And I looked at him and I said, you know what, you can go to that event, and your cool photographer friends may think you're really cool, and they may like your new bike and all of that stuff, but you'll be crazy to think that a lot of the wedding industry people, who are predominantly who? Would you guess, guys or gals? Gals. Most of the ladies, most of the people in the wedding industry are females. So if you don't think that someone's going to judge you, if you don't think that someone's going to create a stereotype about you, if you don't think that your brand is going to be affected by that, then you're wrong. So you have to choose. And I get this all the time. Every one of our members gets an annual business assessment. And their assessment is a 1-hour call with me, and then they get about a 15-page blueprint of what to do over the course of the year. And it may be, you need to talk with this person. And it could be like today, somebody from Georgia needs to talk to somebody from Florida. And it may be connections like that to help them reach their goals. But our goal is, after the course of the year, when we do our assessment in 2013, we can evaluate what they accomplished and why they didn't accomplish certain things. And then we can also evaluate what their next year's steps will be. So my point of mentioning this is, if you think your image doesn't affect your brand, you're wrong. The perceived value of the investment is going to be affected not only by your personal image, but by the image of your marketing material, by the image of your office, by the image of the stock that your business cards are on. All of those things create the image and create the perceived value of the experience. Let's talk about social media for a second. I just love when people think, oh, I keep my Facebook personal page separate from anything to do with business. Okay, not possible. The worlds have collided. If you're doing something that you don't want the world to see, stop doing it. You know, you can't. It is collided. And if a true person that learns how to use social media, if you can learn how to connect with your audience and connect with your clients and connect with your prospects to where people learn to like you, because people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. So if you can have your audience connect with you via your Facebook social page and go, oh, she's so sweet. Oh, look how kind she is. Oh, look at her cute little kid. If you can have them do things like that, then they're starting to know, like, and trust you, which is leading them closer to a sale. So if you're doing something, or any of your kids are doing something, or any of your employees are doing something that is not something that you would want the company or the people in the community to know or do, then you need to tell them to stop. Because it is collided. The worlds have collided. And if you think, you have a teenage son or daughter, if you think that whatever they post on Facebook may not come back to haunt them 5 or 10 years later, you're wrong. Because I guarantee you Facebook will sell any photo that you have stored on Facebook. And if you haven't, if you go to my Facebook page, there's a section of a legal section that you have to add to your Facebook profile, not allowing them to sell or share your Facebook information with other parties. If you have not taken the time to add that to your Facebook page, they can take any of your photos and do whatever they want because they belong to Facebook. So those are things. Yes, that just happened when it went public. That's exactly correct. A disclaimer. If it's on your profile, but most people won't know that, so most people won't post it. And you know, when you think about it, it's like, why would Facebook want to sell my photograph? You never know. Let's say you start living God's passion and you start becoming a disciple of Christ and you start doing all of these good things and you're now a community figure, a public figure, a high profile figure, and then all of a sudden something happens and you do something wrong and you get in a car accident and you hurt somebody, or something happens and somebody accuses you of doing something wrong. And now they have this one photo of you drinking a glass of wine that you took on a girls' night out, and they can use that against you to help a lawsuit. Like you really just never know, because anything can happen. And it could be Satan knocking you down off that mountain again. It could be him knocking you back because you're living a positive life. So just be very, very, very careful with it. Your image is everything. You know, one of the things that I tell people in business assessment calls often is, if you haven't had somebody else come into your office, your workplace, your environment, and just honestly critique it. You know, what do you think of the paint? What do you think of the seating area? What do you think of my desk? What does this office say to you? Because what happens? You know, it's so funny, because I remember when we first moved into our studio years ago, and when we were moving in, brandly painted studio, we had just done all this work. As we're moving in, somebody took like a desk or something and gouged out a side of a wall. And I remember the day that happened, it was like, oh, it was horrible. It was like, oh, it's just an eyesore, and it's going to change the perception of the experience. Well, yeah, we meant to fix it. My husband's not really a handyman, so it was like on the list of things to do one day. Well, after a week, after a month, after 6 months, I didn't even see it anymore. You know, it had been so long that eyesore, the thing that bothered me that I thought everybody would judge, I couldn't even see. I stopped seeing it because we become blind to certain things. So take somebody that you know, take somebody that you trust, take somebody that you know will be brutally honest with you, and say, walk into my place of business and critique it. Tell me what those bookshelves are saying to you. Tell me what the color is saying to you. Tell me what you're feeling, because it could be something so simple. I just recently did this with a chiropractor where the majority of their business is from massage therapy. And he was really he wants to become like a massage envy, and he was really trying to grow the chiropractic, or the massage side of his business. And he said, have you ever been here to get a massage? And I kind of went, yeah, actually, no. And he said, well, why not? And I said, I'm going to tell you the honest truth. When I come into your office, it feels like a doctor's office. When I treat myself, I don't treat myself often. And if I'm going to treat myself to something like a massage, I want to go to a spa. I want to hear spa music. I want it to smell like a spa when I walk in the door. And I don't care if it costs me twice as much, because I want to feel like I'm at a spa, because I don't do that very often. He had no idea. It's that feeling that women get. So you have to have somebody come in. I critiqued a restaurant not too long ago. I did a consultation with them. And I walked in. The outside of his restaurant It was an old Fazoli's, if you remember that restaurant. So they had redone the Fazoli's, and they kind of covered up the window, the drive-through window, and tried to make it pretty. They tried. They attempted to do a good job. But it was yellow and blue. It was what they painted the outside colors. He was thinking bold, bright, get attention. I was thinking cheap, cheap, cheap. Is that fish safe? It was a sushi restaurant. You know, I was scared. And when I consulted him, I was like, okay, let me just walk you through what I'm seeing. And I walked through each phase of that, and I was able to point out so many different little things that changed the experience. He did everything on that list, which was, it was so cool to see that he did everything that I created, but he's thriving and has now 4 restaurants. So sometimes something as simple as a color. And what I pointed out to him is, when you think, ladies, when you think of a business that's yellow, royal blue, and red, name a business that might be those colors. Okay, Long John Silver's, fast food, okay. Anybody else? Daycare centers, that's exactly what I said. Primary colors, daycare centers. Never would I think high-end sushi restaurants, you know. It's just, it's little things like that that you may not see, and you may be going, why is my business not soaring? Why am I suffering? Why is it challenging? And it could be something as simple as the color of the paint on the outside of your building. So keep those things in mind. Your attitude, I think, is really crucial. I think that having the mentality that you're not in sales, but if you're in business, you're in sales. You know, if you have a passion and you have a product and a service that you want to promote, that people have to buy into, you're in sales. And you have to come up with a strategy for creating those revenue-generating sales activities on a consistent basis. You know, just the other day I consulted with somebody and I said, okay, tell me, how do you gain new clients? What do you do? And she said, well, I use Constant Contact and I do email marketing software. And I said, okay, well, tell me, how many people do you have in your database? 38. So you're emailing 38 people. And what kind of results do you really think you're going to get with that? Well, I know that I had about 35%, I'm making that part up because it was low, it was less than 50%, about a 35% open rate. And I said, okay, now let's talk real with this. If you have 35 people or 38 people in your database, 35% of the people open that up, 3 to 5% of the people actually read it, and 1 to 3% actually respond. That means if your phone rings once this week, okay, you will do a good job. So what is your strategy? You know, what is the formula that you have to create? Because everybody has a formula. And if you work for a company and don't know your formula, you need to call your boss aside and say, can you tell me what my formula is? You know, tell me, how many calls do I have to make to get to the yeses? How many appointments do I have to book to get to the close? How many closings do I have to do to get to our monthly goals, to get to our quarterly goals, to get to our yearly goals? You know what most people do? They wait for the phone to ring. They go to a networking function and they hope they run into somebody. They may find a few email addresses somewhere and they send out a blast, selling, not connecting, no emotional connection, and there's no strategy behind it. What I like to teach people is to take a look at who your business is and what you want to create and create a strategy. Like, break it down to 12 months. What do you do? Sales for what company? What kind of company? Okay, what type of insurance do you sell? Sweet. I want to meet some of your clients. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so insurance. Let's just take this for example. And I took my watch off so I could see. And okay, I'm going to wrap this part up and then we'll move on. High-end insurance. So I'm going to speculate that a high-end jewelry company may be a good strategic alliance. I'm going to speculate a high-end commercial property or residential property person that deals with the big estate planning, the estate properties, may be a good commercial client. I'm going to invest, or strategic partner. I'm going to speculate that maybe somebody in financial services may be a good strategic partner because they know who your demographics are. Okay, now I just guessed and came up with 3. She's shaking her head yes, so I might be somewhat correct. But a good strategy for attack is, okay, in July or in June, we're going to target financial services people. In August, I'm going to do nothing but make my marketing strategize towards residential real estate. And in September, I'm going to focus on a high-end jewelry person or high-end, the old Robin Stuckey's. I don't even know who's doing that now. One of those furniture stores. And have that strategy. And then you create, okay, how am I going to build my database? Because it truly is about tribe building. People that can build tribes, that can have people that are excited about following them. And that's why celebrities are able to create call to actions quicker because they have tribes of people listening to what they're saying, listening to what they're doing, and they can raise money and they can make things happen because they have a tribe. So then she's going to build her tribe, and all of the month of July, she's going to focus on finding, who did I say, financial planners, wealth advisors, and adding them to her database. It's not spamming if you're connecting. If you say, Sue Smith, hi, this is what I do. I would love to take you to coffee. I would love to have lunch with you. That's not spam. That's building relationships and doing it strategically. I'm going to close with this because I know we have to take a break. Do not ever go to a networking function if you haven't put motions in place to guarantee that the people you need to meet are going to be there. You know, this is something that I do with WOMTech. I tell my members all the time. If you know, what is a good lead for you? Yes, I'm putting you on the spot. Because you sat in the back of the room. What type of business do you do? Refresh my memory. Okay, so candles. So maybe an interior designer. Maybe somebody that is looking for bridal party gifts for their bridal party that wants something different. A new mom, so maybe like somebody that's going to do something for someone's home. A realtor that's going to be moving into or selling people stuff that may want to give them a candle as a gift for moving into their new home. It's thinking that strategically. And then taking the time. With WOMTech, we give you an Excel spreadsheet. And what I tell you is, I don't care who you are. I don't care how many thousands of these I get on a daily basis. Send us an Excel spreadsheet with who you want to meet. If you want to meet with someone that's in wealth management and you send me 100 names of people in wealth management, their addresses, their email addresses, and their fax numbers, then we will start personally inviting them to the chapter that you want to attend to make sure if we send 100 of those invites out within a week, statistically, if only 3% show up, that's a strategic relationship for you. And I guarantee you, if 3 realtors show up at the exact same time to a meeting, one of them's going to join. So you'll create warm chatter meetings with the other 2, but one will join, and that will be a strategic partner that you can connect with for a relationship for a lifetime. So it's truly redefining relationship marketing. So I've got a lot more to share, but I know it's 8-something. Are you guys having fun so far? Knowing what you're accomplishing and knowing that you're going to meet the right people. Having a clear plan. And what I like to tell people is to start with 12. Just come up with 12 good strategic alliances and not to focus so much on selling to people, but to focus on selling through people, because that's what it's all about. You know, if I can strategically align myself with somebody that is going to help deliver exactly what I'm looking for, that is so much greater than if I'm out there just trying to find everything I'm looking for. But the great thing about creating those strategic alliances is because then you can also share ideas, you can work together, you can share trade show booths, you can have open house events together. You're coming together to create more value because people will invest, like I said, in people they know, like, and trust, but they'll also invest. Women will do anything when the perceived value of the experience is there. I know you guys know this. If you really want a pair of shoes, you're going to find the money for a pair of shoes. So if somebody says to you, I can't afford it, I don't have the money, I'm not ready to purchase at this time, I have to check with my husband, then that's an obstacle because you haven't increased their perceived value in the experience. You haven't overcome their objection. So what you want to do is say, okay, these are the 12 things that I'm going to focus on each month. Now, I've had people say to me, if I'm focused on financial wealth planners in the month of July, does that mean if somebody calls me and they're a realtor, I don't talk to them? No, it's just a marketing strategy because eventually it will keep up. You may not have any results from the financial wealth planners that you're focusing on in July, but 3 months from now, you may start getting those calls. Remember how I said that it was about 9 months after I had kind of removed myself from working with my husband's studio and marketing him because I got so involved in WOMTech that it was like, oh, what did I do? You mean you didn't know everything I was doing for you? Like I just assumed you knew what I was doing for you for 15 years and that you would pick up the ball and run with it. Oops, my mistake, you know? And it was like about that 9 months had gone by and I realized how much not doing what I was doing affected it. The same thing for you will happen. It may take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to really start building the momentum of that marketing strategy. But what is really cool is this. Come up with the 12 things now. So you have one thing you're focused on every month. And come up with a strategy for that one thing. So every month you're going to do some direct mail cards. You're going to do an email marketing campaign. You're going to try and add those people to your database so you're building your tribe and you're building your following. You're going to try and invite those people to come to whatever networking activities that you're going to be going to. What I said right before the break was we allow our members to create an Excel sheet to send us that, so we're inviting them because what works about WOMTech is I say, let us help you grow your business. Building your business just got easier. So that's not a, I want to meet with you so I can sell you something. That's a, let us help you. Now, if you're smart, take that same Excel sheet, mail them a letter with your photograph on it. So when they come to, let's say, for example, a WOMTech meeting, and they see you, they're like, wait, I think I just got something in the mail from you. Your face looks really familiar. And now you're not a cold lead. Now you've just created a warm connection. And because they're at an event with 25, 30, 40, 50 other people that is good for their business, they don't feel as though they're being sold to because it's been a positive experience. So it's kind of like a shift in psychology in how you're creating or redefining relationship marketing when you're working with people. So there should be a strategy. How many direct mail cards am I going to send out, or am I going to use direct mail at all? How many constant contact blasts? Am I going to Facebook these people or LinkedIn them or Twitter them? How am I going to start building my tribe? And it should be a 1, 2, 3 system. Now, how many people sometimes feel overwhelmed? How many people are juggling and spinning so many plates? The idea of me telling you to add more things to do may be a little bit overwhelming. One of the things that I think is really important is the thing that will be a game changer in your business is when you start to implement procedures where things are automated for you, where it happens automatically. I don't write blogs every week. I don't have time to write blogs every week. Take 1 day or 2 days, between Christmas and New Year's when you're at home with the kids and you're kind of just chilling and just write a couple of blogs and get it all set up to where it goes automatically without you doing it. I don't do my email marketing campaigns every time I need to do an email marketing campaign. Why? If I'm not in that creative mode, if I'm not in that mindset, if I'm not capable of doing it, then I'm just going to throw something together quick to get it done, and it's not automated. It's not happening without me. If you take the 12 things that you want to focus on, and in the beginning of January, you kind of think through it, and you create 12 email marketing campaigns, it can go out without you even doing it and be set to automatically go every month based upon when you say it. Some people say, oh, Kathleen, I'm just not good with that stuff. I'm not good with social media. I'm not good with graphic design. I'm not good with copy. I'm not good with... You can either find an excuse or you can find a solution, okay? Learning to delegate. What's so cool is if you have something that you're doing more than once, I guarantee you there's an engineer that's out there not making enough money because of the economy and they're not making $200 an hour like they used to. There's an engineer that is out there that will work for $50 to $90 an hour for you locally in Central Florida to design a software to expedite your procedures. Okay, it's that simple. But if you don't know, if you don't ask, you'll never know, you'll never find. And that's what finding those different people are. If you're doing something more than once, create something to expedite it so you don't have to do it. And what's so cool is then your business begins to work without you even there. So you can be with your kids, you can be with your family, you can volunteer more because your business, is the circles are still spinning with strategy. I think that that's really important. Most important is it's really important with relationship marketing is be genuine, authentic. I always ask people how I can help them before I ever even tell them what I do. I never hand a business card out. I barely ever even have more than a couple of business cards. Like people come up to me all the time and I try and connect with as many people as I can and try and make those relationships authentic, truly authentic. Because it's about engaging. If you give someone a business card and they haven't asked for it, where is that going to go? Okay, they're not going to keep it. They're not going to keep it. It's going to go in the garbage. If you, the people that come to meetings and they're passing all this stuff, please don't throw all my stuff in the garbage. Put it back on the table if you don't want it. But if you come to meetings and they put all the stuff on the table, they get wet and they get thrown away. Most people don't even do anything with it. So engage with them, ask them, and wait until they ask you for your contact information. It will go so much further. Okay, the 5 qualities, and this I used to teach. It's funny because this I used to teach when I taught marketing and business at a university. And this is universal for whether it's somebody that is working for you, somebody that is a customer of yours, even somebody that's a friend and maybe even a significant other. Okay, the 5 qualities people want in you is your appearance, qualifications, I'm going to talk about this in just a second, communication skills, dependability, and critical thinking, problem solving. So let's talk about that for just a minute. We talked about appearance, and I made fun of my husband, the biker. It's not just that appearance. I can tell you that I have judged the outside of businesses based upon what they look like. I have judged the level of success based upon people's photos on Facebook or based upon their website because their website was old and hadn't been updated recently, because their photos were old and it wasn't showing the cool new trends. Appearance can tell people a lot about your business. You know, somebody in here, name for me what type of company would go to Office Depot, pick one of their little icons, and create a business card at Office Depot. This is not judging Office Depot, but tradition. Very good. Jackpot. Thank you. It's typically building contractors, AC companies, janitors, maintenance people. It is a lot, probably because women are more pretty when it comes to design. We're going to think outside the box when it comes to design. But typically those types of professions have lower end quality stationery and use not created logos like by a graphic designer. They use logos that they look on a computer and hit click, and that's the logo that they pick. That's going to tell somebody something about the quality of your business. Now, if it's a high contract general contractor, somebody that's really successful, somebody that's been in business for a long time, I guarantee you they're not going to have an Office Depot business card because they've been in business so long to know, to grow, to get better. So appearance is the most important. The next thing is qualifications. Are you qualified to do this job? Are you qualified for me to give you my money? Are you qualified to deliver what you're telling me you're going to deliver? This is no different than when an employee says all this great stuff in an interview and they tell you how wonderful they're going to be, and then after you meet them and really work with them for 3 or 4 months, you're like, what about all this stuff? Yeah, you know Excel, you knew how to open it? Like, is that really what you were trying to communicate to me? Because you don't know Excel. How do you get to that? It's true, we can all say what we want you to hear. But how does somebody truly know if you're qualified? You know, it could be through testing. Like if you want an employee to know Excel, don't just let them say they know Excel. Give them a test so you know what their level of Excel expertise is. But most of the time, how do I know you're qualified? How do I know you're qualified? Most of the time it's word of mouth. Most of the time it's because other people say, you know, this is a really good realtor. Or I would trust my finances with this person. You know, when you're going through, let's say you're hit with something hard. You know, your house is going to be foreclosed, or your husband is leaving you, or you have some sort of court struggle or issue. You don't walk up to somebody at a networking function and say, oh, you're an attorney, great, my husband's a deadbeat and I need to leave him, can you help? You don't say that. Or, oh, you know what, my husband's been unemployed and I don't have any money and I'm losing my house, can I help? You don't say that. You smile, you shake your head, you wait to find out if you can know, like, and trust them, and if you can become vulnerable with them. That's where the genuine and the authenticity comes into play. The minute you know you can be vulnerable with them and you can say, yes, I'm now ready to reveal everything about my finances to you. I'm now ready to let you know all about my marital problems because I need your help, because I know, like, and trust you. So how do you get to that person without having to spend if you don't have 3-6 months to try and deal with this court issue that you have to deal with, how do you get to that level? By asking people you know who they know, like, and trust. And that is why it's so important not to try and sell to people, but to sell through people. Get your army of sisters that are out there, sisters who are walking in Christ, that are passionate, that are professional, that are community advocates. Get them out there saying, if you need this person, this is who you need to call. You know, if you need this person, this is who you need to call. Because then it's not, why hire a sales team when you can hire girlfriends? You know, when you can hire sisters, because it's going to go so much further. The same with dependability. I'm going to skip over communication skills for a second. Dependability. You know, you can say you're dependable. People used to pay us $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 in advance to do their weddings. Okay? In advance. How? And people used to say, well, I don't know. You know, how do you do that? It's because everybody in the community is saying that's the person to hire. That's the person you need to use. You know, and it's not a fly-by-night, because there are companies that have opened up and taken money from people and then closed their doors before their wedding. There are companies like that. But if everybody in the industry, everybody in the community, everybody in your neighborhood is saying, oh, they're awesome, that's the person to hire, then the playing field changes. The game changes completely. Let's go back to communication skills. I think that this is really funny, and I encourage you to use outside resources to bring people in to help you make sure your communication skills are up to par. And it could be something as simple as the voice that's on your answering machine, you know, when someone calls your office. It could be something as, if it's a home office, is it your kid answering the phone? Are they saying the right thing? How professional does that sound, and how serious does your business seem? If it's your office, our office, I discovered something. I bought a phone system years ago from somebody, a member of WOMTech in the very, very beginning, so it was 5 years ago, and I bought this phone system, and it was funny because when we were looking for a new commercial property to move WOMTech into, I started calling around, And she had put her voice on our WOMTech phone system in the very beginning just to help me out. It was one less thing that I had to do. She said, yes, it could be your voice. I'm all at not being all about me. Like, you probably will never see my face on the cover of the magazine. And I like to highlight other people. And so I thought, she's a member. It's her voice. Let her be the voice of WOMTech. But what was funny is I started calling all these rental properties in the Longwood area. And everywhere I called, it was her voice, which meant it wasn't different. Because everywhere she sold a phone, she offered to use the voice. So it could be something so simple as that. It could be your tagline. I consulted with someone in business once, and it was so funny. He said, you know what, Kathleen, if I had you working for me, I would be profitable, but I don't have a you working for me, and everybody that calls me, they're cheap and they don't want to spend the money. The perceived value isn't there. So I said, let's sit down and look at what you're communicating. His tagline underneath, his company name, said affordable wedding photography. Hello, all cheap brides call me. That's what he was saying. And he never thought about it. He never put two and two together. And then I said to him, you know what, let me tell you something. Your photography is good, but that image is old. And he said, no, that image isn't old. We just did it about 6 months ago. I said, the dress is old and the flowers are old. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, the dress, it's not a new dress. It's not a modern dress. This is speaking old traditional style, and this is not going to communicate to the hip young brides that are ready to spend money. And he was like, oh. I said, where did you get the dress? And he said, I borrowed it from the makeup artist. I said, where did you get the flowers? It was a silk bouquet that the florist happened to have that would lend him. Do you see how simple things like that in your communication can kill your business? It's so important. So really looking at, what message are you communicating on your website? What voice are you saying when people call your office? Is it important to use someone, to bring someone in? Using independent contractors sometimes can make you a lot more money than not. So it's really, really important in business is how do you step back, remove your emotions, okay? If you're walking in faith, it makes it a little bit easier because it's not your path. It's God's path. It's his plan. So you can remove those emotions a little bit more, but see people in many different ways from more than one angle, I think is really, really important. Because you know what? If there's somebody that's sitting in front of you that really, really, really wants to buy your product, good, or service, that really, really, really wants to come work for you, okay, if you don't ever really, really connect, they'll get up and walk away because they're afraid to tell you the truth. So if the perceived value is there, then keep asking the questions until you get to the problem. And you get to the bottom line and you find the solution to help them, because if you're really focused on helping them, then it's not about you, which is really important. Okay, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds. Finds. And to him knocks it will be open. I think that is really important. Like if you just know, if you're moving in faith and you're asking and you know that whatever you ask, whatever you pray for, whatever you do, God will give you when it's your time. He'll give it to you when it's your plan and it's your moment. And just knowing that everybody in this room is here by divine appointment for a reason. And how we connect, and if we don't take the time to look and connect and say, tell me about you, there may have been something that we were supposed to do today that we may miss out on, and it could take 5 years to get back to that moment, to get back to that vision. Great leaders don't try to make someone become something they want them to be. They find the people and find the strengths. This was a really big lesson in my life. When I ran, and I've run lots of businesses, I worked at the college and I supervised people there as the director of career services. I was an executive director with Mary Kay at once, and I had like 200 people in my unit. I worked with my husband, and we had a staff of people there. Every position I had as I was growing, I would say, well, this is what I need. So I would advertise the position, I'd find some candidates, find the one that I liked the most, and try and stick them in that position. What I've learned to do, and what I'm doing differently now, is really finding the people that I liked, that I felt had the heart that I could connect with, that had the passion that I wanted to connect with, that had the beliefs that I needed, because they had the core component of who and what we represented. And once I found that person, then you get to know them and you analyze them and you ask them question after question after question to find their talents. Because we all have talents. We all have talents in different levels, in different ways, for different reasons. And the minute I stopped trying to make people do what I thought they needed to do and started finding out what they were really good at doing, we started growing. Because they were good at doing things that I didn't know we should be doing. And that's why I wasn't telling them to do it. Does that make sense to you? But we get so stuck in this lack of critical thinking capability that we stifle ourselves from growth because we're not allowing people to lift us up, which is really, really important. With every employee, with every customer, it's important to make an emotional connection, to continue building that connection, and then to maintain that connection. And what I mean by that is you have a customer. If you don't have systems in place to automate and keep them engaged, it's very easy to lose that customer. You bring on an employee, they're excited, and then they get bored. It gets mundane. You don't retain them. And it costs so much more to get a new customer. It costs so much more to get a new employee. It's like, why don't we put the systems in place to actually automate and do that and keep them engaged? You know, I have had many people work for free. I just say, you know what? I would love your help. I can't afford to hire you to help me right now. I promise you one day when I can't afford you, I'll track every single thing that I do. And if you want to volunteer to work for me for a while, I promise you I will pay it forward and I will appreciate every blessing you can give me. And they're like, sure. Like, wow, that's pretty cool. I have had people, my website designer, I was getting website quotes, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000, $35,000. I don't have that kind of money. Like, no way. I found a gentleman and a couple that was willing to help me out. And I was like, and they got it down to like $12,000. I don't have $12,000. Well, we can do $500 monthly payments until you pay it off. The website debuted within 9 months. I didn't finish paying it off for 3 years. Okay, so that's trust. And when you're walking with integrity and when people see that sincerity, they will help you, but you have to ask. You know, no is not the answer. You just keep asking until you find the solution because people want to help people. And if people have a skill like the programmer that I mentioned, if you need to automate something or write a software and you find a programmer that gets into that stuff and you say, please, I really need your help. Can you help me? Are you capable of doing this? They'll be like, I don't know, the Facebook guys when they all got together and started creating something amazing because they get excited about being part of something amazing. So there are no limitations in what you can accomplish. Extraordinary businesses focus on selling themselves first. This is really important. When somebody calls you, how many people have customers that call them? Give me a click. Okay. When a customer calls you, what do they normally say? Okay, so I have a problem with my car. Can I get it in? Or how much would it cost to fix this? Or they're usually asking you questions like that. How do you respond to that question? Okay. He knows what he's talking about. No, just kidding. I love how they do that psychologically. Can we just talk to your husband? Okay. So he gets on the phone and then they talk shop and they talk numbers and stuff like that, usually. Okay. Okay. Now, are these usually customers that are repeat customers? And that's why they ask for your husband because they know, like, and trust him, and they know he's going to be straight with them. Okay. So that's really good, and that's important. Businesses that focus on selling themselves first and then go to their company, then their product, and then their price are taking the time to develop a relationship and take people through the process. Most businesses, when they get a phone call, and I'm going to go back to that other slide, most businesses focus on price. Somebody calls and says, how much would it cost for transmission repair? Somebody says, you know, how much does it cost to become a consultant and start selling candles? You know, how much does it cost, you know, for whatever it is that you're doing? And then you get into the justification mode because now you're trying to sell price. Well, our average price ranges from this price to this price, and it includes blah, 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 blah. And you're trying to sell them on the price and justify your product before you've ever truly connected. But what's amazing is if you flip the coins and you say, well, you know what? Tell me, why are you interested in the candle business? Or tell me a little bit more about your car. Or tell me what problem you're experiencing. Now you're taking the focus away from price and you're connecting with them. You know, you really don't know. So many times people call, and with photography especially, they used to call and they would say, you know, how much are your weddings or how much are your portraits? We actually had someone call, administrative assistant called. She started focusing on price, okay? She wanted to do a portrait for the owner of the company, okay? Guy's got money, but she was focused on price. Why was she focused on price? She was focused on price because he said, here, call this guy and find out how much the portrait's going to be. My wife wants me to do a portrait and I've got to get this done. So she was doing what she was told to do, not because money was an issue. Because people that are focused on price are often less expensive or willing to pay less. And so you can get frustrated psychologically if you don't connect, ask questions, bond, get to know them. We actually ended up doing the portrait. They spent a lot of money. They did a great job on the portrait. And the funny thing about it is we have had people call, and if you quote too cheap, then what does that mean? You're not as Okay, so if you're not as valuable, you're not as good. So if you think, oh, they're cheap, they're focused on price, and you don't ask enough questions, you can lose the job because you're not as good as them. They're going to perceive you less. So I think that's really important. So focus on selling yourself. Now, selling yourself has nothing to do with qualifications. They don't need to know if you have a master's degree. They don't need to know all the fancy letters next to your name. None of that is important at all. I had an architect come up to me the other day, and she said, Kathleen, I'm really not benefiting as much from WOMTech as I thought I would. She did landscape architecture or structural designs outside. And I said, really? I said, I'm sorry to hear that. Talk to me about what you're looking for so I may be able to better connect you with people that you want. How do you do your elevator speech? How do you do your 60 seconds? And she went, I'm a blah, 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 and I have this accreditation, blah, 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 and I deal. She said, all this stuff. And I went, you know, I'm an educated person. And my brother's an architect, and I deal with a lot of people, but I have no idea what you just said. Like, I don't know how to help you. I don't know who to connect you with. You sound really impressive, but I don't know what to do with you. And so you have to dummy it down for people that are here. You have to tell me something as simple as a good lead would be a residential realtor, a corporate realtor. She named all these, an interior designer, somebody that specializes in contracting. She named all these specific things. It was like, oh, well, now I know how to help you. You know, you didn't say any of that. So sometimes we get so wrapped up in ourselves that we try and qualify and justify and make ourselves feel better that the people that we're talking to have no clue what you were talking about, and it really doesn't mean a whole lot. So it's not about selling yourself as in qualifications. How, can anybody here guess how you might sell yourself when you're talking to somebody? Okay, show them you care. And how can you show them you care? Okay, by asking questions. And they won't, you have to listen and sincerely listen. Like if you sit down with a client and you say, oh, tell me about your special day, or how did you get engaged? And then you check out and they start thinking about, oh, I gotta go to the dry cleaners, it's almost 5 o'clock, I gotta get home, blah, blah. And you do that. They see that. They see, and they'll go, oh, well, he proposed to me at the lake. And they'll stop talking. But if you go, well, how did he propose to you at the lake? Well, what happened? Well, tell me about that. Now tell me about your dress. And if you can paint yourself into that picture, whatever it may be, they will connect and they'll feel connected. And then when you send them that Facebook request or that LinkedIn request and you say, I'm so excited about your day and I can't wait, I keep thinking about the flower colors you've chose and how pretty it's going to be with your hair, or whatever it may be, finding that connection, that's when you go from a salesperson to a friend. And when you go to a salesperson to a friend, you can truly overcome every obstacle that they may throw you, not to try and close, but to try and help them reach their goals. Because they wouldn't have been there in the first place if they didn't want your help. They just may be afraid to ask for it. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Okay, building the connection. I have discovered, I've done over 400 business assessments in the last year. Lots of phone calls, mostly with entrepreneurs, some with people that work for other companies. I have discovered, shockingly, most people don't have customer databases. Don't raise your hand if you're one of those people. But if you're one of those people, you need to fix that problem right away. And it could be as simple as using Excel. It can be as simple as don't use if you're going to use like a Constant Contact or an iContact, like an email marketing software to keep your database, you need to make sure that you can export it and back that up and save that somewhere else. But I have discovered that there is no follow-up system. So they get a business card, they take those business cards, they may call, they may email, they may try and work the lead once or twice. They usually don't have enough business cards, so then they start calling the people too many times because they don't have enough cards to call, and now they're starting to kind of harass the people that aren't responding to them. But then there's no follow-up procedure. You know, just because I may not be ready to buy today doesn't necessarily mean I'm not ready to buy ever. And if you don't have a follow-up system in place, and I like you, and this, I'll tell you something, this is true. We're just about at the point where I'm ready to go on a cruise or an exotic vacation with our family. It's been 5 years since WOMTech started. I desperately wanted to do this when WOMTech first started. We were a new company. We didn't have the money to be able to do that. Our son at the time was a newborn. He's 5 years old now. So at the time he was a newborn, and I had a fear of like taking a cruise with a newborn. I don't know, dropping him in the pool, slipping, and I don't know, dropping him over the boat. I don't know. I had like this phobia about it. So I had these relationships with people that were in travel, and I said, I promise you one day I'm going to book a cruise with you. I promise you we're going to do a family of 6, and it will happen. Well, it was funny because I kept making that commitment, and the travel person would come, and because of the recession, they would go. And then a new travel person would come in, and they would go. And I thought, this is so sad because they're missing the point. The point is about making long-term connections with people because you know that eventually it will come back to you. Now when it comes to a point we're ready to make this trip, we're ready to book this trip, I'm not going to call somebody who expired 5 years ago. I'm going to call somebody who is actively engaged now because I owe that to them. So never forget that what may be a no today, as life continues to change, may be a yes tomorrow. I think that's really important. You can recognize people in a lot of different ways, but you know what I have discovered is the power of a thank you and the power of a little bit of recognition goes so much further than any money you can give people, any prize that you can give people, just saying thank you. We came out with something silly at our last conference. It's not silly, it's done all over at conventions all over, but 2 conferences ago, our girls ordered the little ribbons to go on the bottom of the name tag. I'm normally not a recognition-oriented person, so they jokingly ordered one that said founder to me, and then they ordered like computer geek for our IT guy, and they were just having fun with it. Diva for all of the Dr. Phillips divas, they got all diva ones, and they started having fun with it. Well, we had director, and we had ambassadors, and we had charter members. It was hysterical to see these women. Well, I'm an ambassador and a diva, and I was a charter member too, and they were like running back to the table trying to get these ribbons that went on their name badges. But what was the funniest thing of that whole experience is because I had said, I don't need a ribbon, don't worry about that. I went back to the table to get my founder ribbon because everybody else had these ribbons, and now, isn't that weird? Like, what is the psychology of that? I didn't need a ribbon. It was my event. Like, it's free stuff. You want it. Exactly. It taught me something so huge. So just recognizing someone and taking that time and that doing that little thing can mean so much more than any appreciation event or incentive or promotional offer you might have. I do use a marketing software. I personally use Constant Contact. I do use send out cards. If you're not familiar with send out cards, that is a system that can also be automated. So if it's not working for you without you doing it, you need to talk to me and I'll help you learn how to have it work without you working it as a way to keep your database. I do email newsletters. I think that that's really important because it stays engaged. Paper newsletters, you can choose whether or not you still want to do it. You're killing trees and you're wasting stamps and postage, and a lot of people may not read them. I think it's more important that if you're going to recognize somebody or want to connect, you can use social media to make that happen. For those of you that are intimidated with social media, if you haven't signed up for Ping, ping.fm, it's a way that you can Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn all at once. So it kind of, I don't want to say, I was going to say, the same thing. Well, Hootsuite, do you pay for Hootsuite? Because Ping's free. Okay, so Hootsuite or Ping, either one will do. And then this is something that I encourage you to do. If you're not currently signed up with Google Alert, I would encourage you to do so. It's a free service. Somebody said to me at the last seminar, how do you do Google Alert? And I said, Google it. It's easy. It's a free service, but this is what you want to do. Like I did Kathleen Hawkins, I did WOMTech, I did Women on a Mission to Earn Commission, Confident Woman Magazine, like anything that you want to know about. What's cool about this is I pay a writer like $25 to take my blog and make it an article and then send it out, or to do press releases, and I can help you connect with people like this too. And when she would do stuff like this, she would send it out, and like let's say she would send it to Colorado or California. If I don't get the local community newspapers, the local publications, I don't know whenever the press releases or articles are picked up. Well, Google Alerts will pick them up and notify you anytime anybody mentions your name. So you want to do your company name. If you work for a company, do your boss. So you know if he's in the, now arrested. No, I don't know. You never know. Just Google anybody, your kids. So you know if people are talking about you in the media or anything electronic. Like if somebody writes a blog about your company and says it's a scam or says that they did something wrong and it's posted on the internet, you will be notified immediately so you can pursue, if needed, a defamation of character lawsuit. So just kind of keep those things in mind. I think that's really important. Your goals in everything with everybody is to increase your profit per sale or event. It should be to confirm your customer's perception that you took care of them and that you didn't get them, and cultivate your customers' trust in you. I think that if you ask the right questions, if you answer their questions, if you talk from your heart and you talk sincerely and overcome their objections, they're going to know that you took care of them and you didn't take advantage of them. They're going to begin to develop a relationship to trust you. And I think that's really important. Now, increasing your profit, something that I think is important is if your company is not growing, how much you're making per customer sale each time, then you want to look at your marketing strategy and how you might be able to shift that up. You know, you said anybody that gets something free, gift with purchases, you're exactly right. If your average client spends $250, then you need to create a gift with purchase incentive for $300. So if they spend $300, they get this free, okay? Bed Bath & Beyond does this very, very well. You know, you go, if you buy this, you get this free, and then before you know it, you're buying like 20 things when you went in there for 2. But you feel good about your purchase. You feel good about the experience. And then once your customer average is $300 a piece, then you do a promotion with $350. What's funny is in our business, many times we've done it where we'll have this, and it'll be a certain level, but maybe not for a different product line. And then the people shift and they start buying more product lines, and then they're like, well, what's my gift with purchase? It's like, I'll be right back. Let me go figure that out. Because they start to depend on it because they want to earn something for free. We already talked about this, following up with finesse, using today's technology and following up not only with your customers, but with your employees and your vendors. Developing relationships with your vendors is very important. You know, one thing I've learned is if you analyze your cost of goods sold and you analyze your finances, you can often go back to your vendors if you keep a relationship with them strong enough and say, look, I need you to do something. I've got to lower this cost. We did this with name tags. We were losing money on our name tags, and we do about 100 a week. So we were losing money on our name tags, which was starting to add up on an annual basis. And I went to her and I said, now originally she said this was the best she could do in the very beginning. And I went back to her and I said, there's got to be something you can do, or I'm going to have to start looking for another company. Is there anything we can do to lower this cost? She went down by $2 without asking me any questions. $2 when you're doing 100, 150, 200 name tags a week adds up over the course of the year. But all I had to do was ask. So when they feel as though they're going to lose you and you're in contact with them and your relationship is strong, you can increase your profit margins without selling another thing, which is important. Become known as a powerful resource for others. I think that this is huge. Using your community and learning how to position yourself in your community as more than just a salesperson. If you can brand yourself as an expert, if you can brand yourself as a contributor, if you can become, like now, I've got lots of news stations that are local that anytime they want to talk about anything with anybody in business, I'm who they call. That's a powerful resource. You know, that is very helpful. Therefore, because I'm giving them and funneling them people and stories and helping make their job easier, guess what? Anytime I want to be on the news, I can just pick up the phone and give them a call. So how do you do that? I remember years ago when I first said to my husband, I'm going to write a book, a marketing and selling book for photographers. He was like, well, how can you just say that? It's like you act like an authoritative figure and somebody's going to listen. You know, it's not that my way was the only way, but enough people listen. We sold thousands and thousands of books all across the world. And it's about really believing in what you're doing and knowing that people will respond to it. It doesn't matter what you are. You know, I just talked to somebody. She was selling a corporate gifting basket, direct sales kind of company. You may know it. I don't know it that well. And she went to school and she got a health and wellness coaching license, so she was kind of like all over the place. And I was like, okay, let's bring it in here, girlfriend. Like, I got to figure out what you're trying to accomplish. And she wasn't making a lot of money, and she was struggling. So when I really looked at it, I said, okay, now why did you go and get the health and wellness certificate? Why did you do that? And she was like, because I like helping people, and I want to help people achieve what they need to achieve. And I was like, okay, now let's stop for a minute. Now talk to me about the corporate gifting. And it was more like employee incentive gifting because she had spent time in human resources. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. Okay, I got it. Now, let's change. You're not going to do I do this and I do this because it just makes it sound like you're all over the map. We're going to change it, and you're going to become an employee retention consultant, okay? An employee retention consultant. So I come into your human resources office. I get to know your key players. We analyze how we can make them thrive. We hold workshops in your office. We create employee incentive programs. I consult with them as far as health and wellness, so if they're too tired or sluggish, and we packaged it all together, and she was like, wow. That's really cool. And the title sounds so much better than I sell multi-level marketing and I went to school to get a health and wellness consulting degree. You know, like it was just like all over the map. So it's all in how you brand yourself. And then if you start sending articles to magazines, local magazines who are always hungry to pick up 250 words, how to, or 5 bullets, okay, is what they're looking for. If you do that, they will pick up your article, which could then be turned into a blog. But then if you get a little bit more creative, buy the book called Writer's Market, okay? And you can see everywhere in the nation that you can send that article, okay, and get paid for it. Now here's the catch. I usually write my 5 bullets. It's not hard to write a 5-paragraph essay. 250 words is like 5-paragraph essay or 5 main bullets. How to, must have, everything you need to know when you're selling something expensive, whatever. So you find your 5 bullets and you create that. I have a writer that I usually pay probably about $50, maybe $75, depending upon how much work needs to be done to my 5 bullets. So I pay her $50 to $75. She sends it to all of the places that I have found in Writer's Market. Actually, I just gave her the book and told her to find the places herself. And she sends it out. She gets $50 to $75. It takes her maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes. But the winner is, every time I do that, one of my articles gets picked up. I get $200 to $800 for publishing that article. Good magazines will pay up to $4,000. And this could be a magazine like Health and Wellness in Canada, or like a little tiny publication that's desperate for content and paying people for that content. But what it does even more is it increases your Google search engine optimization because it's putting your name and your company name in print electronically, which is helping take traffic to your website. Do you see how all that works? It may sound complicated. It doesn't have to be. It's just taking each piece and starting with the 12 things you need and then breaking it down and adding on another layer. And once you automate things, you'll see how much easier it is to bring together. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. I think I've given you a lot. By the looks on your faces, I know it's Friday night, and I can tell. I can keep going on. I mean, I taught this at a university. I could talk for a year if you want me to, but I'm going to stop. I hope you got some value. Like I said, when I came in here, I had no idea what we needed to accomplish, but I know that with God, all things are possible, and we are all going to become the women that He intends us to be. And I thank you for letting me share. I do want to give you, or show you, if I haven't lost my signal. Those are our beautiful babies. See, so when you're stuck with something that you don't know why it's not working the way you want it to work, know that God's plan is so much bigger than anything that we can ever imagine for ourselves.